Hi, my name's Colin. Welcome to Paint Watercolours. So if you're ready, let's get started. Hello, welcome back to Let's Paint Watercolours, and what we'll do is we'll just pop some Naples yellow just in the centre here. I've got the board laying flat and I have wet the whole page area. Into that just run some cadmium orange, and into that this is just some cerulean blue, some on this side, leaving a gap round the tree because you want that to stand out. You might just drop a little bit of a cadmium orange into there, to be honest. This is just a touch of cadmium yellow light. Now this is indigo and cadmium red, and I'm just going to drop this around the area here but still allow the cerulean blue to show through. And we're going to put quite a lot of interest on this side of the sky because the picture is weighted on the right hand side here with its trees and all the foliage, so we need to have some more interest on the left hand side of the sky. Just very gently bring this across. Just teasing it down slightly. Going to leave that to dry a moment or two. Now the sky's dried out quite a bit. Just come to this very small headland here, and this is indigo and cadmium red. I'll just paint it in, pick out the edge there. To the next headland. I think forgot to tell you, this is it's another photograph of Bar Harbour by a gentleman called Matt V. So thank you very much for his photo. So we just re-wet it, same colour again but slightly stronger, indigo cadmium red, tiny touch of yellow ochre, just to add some differences to it, makes it just a little bit more interesting. And we can leave that to dry. Now with the same sky colour, which is the indigo and the cadmium red, I think this is a number 10 round brush. Squeeze it flat, and I've just dampened the paper up to there, and we will just drag this brush across the dry part and into the damp part, getting a hit and miss effect on the rough paper. And as it moves into the damp part of the paper, things will start to blend. Just reserving the whites. I want to put some cadmium yellow light, and as it hits the blue it will turn green. Which is the effect that I'm looking for. While we're here, where the fir trees are at the back of this large fir tree here, we'll just put them in. And for that I'm just using a rigger brush. So this is once again, it's indigo and cadmium red. Strengthen it up in some areas just to add some interest. Some detail on these just to help to draw your eye into the painting. Take a damp brush Soften down the edges. Just adding a little colour onto the bottom of this bank. And then we can leave that to dry. Now with a stronger mix of the indigo and cadmium red, this is the same number 10 brush. Squeeze the excess off, and we're just going to pull this through. Strengthen it up in areas just under the masking fluid to form a wave. Then with a damp brush, that's a fully loaded brush with water, take the excess water out of it, just soften the edges. I'm just re-wetting this rocky foreshore here, and into that we're just going to put some French ultramarine and light red, paling off if we get towards the background shore. Sharpening up some of the lines, the rock formations, to a little touch of the tree colouring, which is the indigo cadmium red. Put out some lighter areas that you want to be seen. Soften the back edge off. Okay, I just want to lift a little bit of paint out. Some of it's a little bit strong, and this far headland, it's just a little bit too dark, so we're just going to pale it off a little bit. So this is a clean brush with clean water. Just re-wet the area, take it out. Okay, with a touch of indigo and light red, just a little bit darker, we can just begin to put the shadow sides onto these rocks. And where you've lifted the paint out, it should just go a little bit brighter. Small, this is a 10/0 liner brush. I think it's almost about the smallest one you can get. We can add some cracks in. It all helps to add interest to your foreground rocks. Now with some of the weaker mix of your sky colour, and I've just added some light red to it, so it's indigo and light red, as I don't want to introduce too many green colours. This is just a normal mop brush which has been dampened and then dried on a rag. I don't want cotton balls, so bring it out in areas. Rig a brush, the same mixture. We could just put some twigs and branches in. Now that you've got that in, I've just added a little bit of the sky colour at the bottom, and what we're going to do is just with a wet brush, just going to blend this in all the way down to the rocky shoreline. Yeah, yellow, just to add the tops to it. Some greenery, just to bring some green colour into it. A nice, really dark green. Excuse me. I'm just darkening that with some of the sky colour. Sure the brush is loaded right, dried off, so that the hairs open out. And on the underneath we can add some darks. So now we're going to leave that to dry for a moment, and then we'll come back and do the second stage sky. Once you've got this dry, when the paper is completely dry, you turn it over and you re-wet the back. You can use a sponge or a brush. Don't put too much water on, and turn it back over. Put 2 heavy books on it, and this will keep your paper flat. This is a 2-inch watercolour flat brush, and with some clean water in one stroke all the way across the sky. Catch the bottom trailing end of the water, put another stroke in. And what you are trying to do is put a film of water onto the sky without disturbing the colour underneath. Just check there's no gaps. Now you are not going to use all of the sky for that. What we're going to do is put a dark cloud in here that will point towards this tree, because as I said earlier, that the picture is weighted on this side with the growth, the bushes and a fir tree, which leaves this side unweighted. So you have to balance the picture out, and this is how we're going to do it. Now this is too wet at the moment, so we're going to allow that water to settle in, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, I've left this for about 15 minutes, but I'm afraid only experience will show you when it's ready. But the shine is just disappearing off the wet paper, and this is a strong mix of the indigo and cadmium red. I'm just going to test it first, because we want it to drift and soften as we go, but we don't want it to drift too far. And this is a goat hair mop brush. Just very gently allow it to fade off from the sides. Just take it into the corner. Reload your brush. And we slowly work it towards the tree. Putting some shape to the tops of the clouds. Just remove some of these little specks. This is just a damp brush and it will lift out any colour that may have splashed. And also we can use it to bring a relatively fine point to the end of the cloud. To add just a little bit of interest, we can just lift some paint out. You can use a tissue for this, but I prefer a damp brush because I want to allow some creep to come back in. Rinse the brush again. Just keep lifting some paint out just to add interest to the clouds. Then with your squirrel mop brush or your goat hair brush, clean it. Just spread it slightly so that the bristles are open. Very gently just pull some shafts down from your clouds. This will give the appearance of a little rain, all in the same direction. Don't go too mad with this. And then I'm going to do is stop it going anywhere now, and I'm just going to give it a quick dry off. Because I don't want it to spread any further, but I don't want to dry the paper out completely. And I think that will just about do it. This is a dark green. We will begin, just test the colour. Okay, then we start to add some shape to this tree. As you can see, I'm just bouncing the brush along, and don't forget that you still have masking fluid on the tree trunks, and we will be introducing a darker colour. Pull it out a little bit. Okay, and there's your fir tree. And we're just going to let that dry a little bit, and then we're going to add some of the very dark sky mixture to this, which is the indigo and the cadmium red, and we're going to deepen this off even further to make your second dark colour of the green. This ensures that this blue is used all the way through the painting, and we can add some into the grass if you wish to. Actually, I think I'll use my mop brush for that. Dark under the fir tree for shadow, and then what we'll be doing after, we will be lifting some paint out from the waves, but first we will take some of the stone colour, which is indigo and the light red, and we'll just paint some of these rocks in. Okay, I've just done the tree trunk. It was just basically the sky colour in the top with the indigo and cadmium red run into the tree, and then just a dark shadow put in with the sky colour. And we're going back to the very dark green that we mixed earlier on. and we can add some depth into this tree. So this colour almost looks black, but it's an exceptionally dark green. Take it up the tree. Just build your tree up. We're going to let that go at that. And I want to come back to the foreground rocks. This is a slightly different colour, it's just slightly stronger than this, but I just want to add some texture to the foreground rocks. To stop them looking so flat. Of the indigo cadmium red with a slight touch of French ultramarine. As we go towards the distance, you should be thinning on your brush the paint. Take your damp brush and just soften the edges in. Maybe strengthen it up in some areas, especially towards the front, to give this some depth. Soften the edges again. And all I've done to these rocks is just add a little dark side to them, just to give them a bit of dimension. Now with a slightly stronger mix of the cadmium red, indigo with a touch of French ultramarine, I'm just beginning to put the shadows back in of these rocks. You don't want it all one solid line, so once you've got some on, take your damp brush, soften it so you get some variation in your dark and light patches. Reinforce your cracks. Okay, that's your finished painting. As you can see, I've just reinforced some of the shadow area where the rocks are, and I've just noticed you couldn't see the lifting out too well on the video, so I've actually just scratched a little bit of sparkling with a craft knife, and all you've got to do now is just sign it and put it in a mount and frame it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe for further videos. Thank you very much.